What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. Took a couple weeks off, gave the NHL and the Leafs a little bit of time to simmer down, make some moves, kind of see where things are at. The last time we posted a video, talked a little bit about Jason Spezza re-signing, coming back to Toronto again on a league minimum deal, which was pretty cool. I know he was quoted saying that he would take less to play here if he could. But since that time, since that video's gone up, our most watched video ever is at 3,700 views. So if you haven't seen that one, go over to our channel. Watch if you think Kyle Dubas should be fired or not. Give your perspective in the comments. Like the video, share it, subscribe to our channel. Make sure you go and subscribe to Leafs Digest. And while we're on that, if you haven't already, some big things are happening with the Raptors in the NBA. So go over and check out Ben and Riker, their channel. Josh is doing some work with them as well. Courtside Digest, as well as Raptors Digest channels, the OG Raptors Digest. That's kind of what kicked this whole thing going. So if you're a fan of the NBA or if you're just a fan of the Raptors, only the Toronto Raptors, that's fine too. Make sure you subscribe to the Raptors Digest, Courtside Digest. More things are coming from those guys. But for now, biggest thing here for us, subscribe to the Leafs Digest channel. But goody, we're at 202 subscribers on this channel. Things are going pretty well. The Leafs season didn't end the way that we wanted it to, but the Habs are in the Stanley Cup Finals as of right now. So, I mean, clearly we were playing kind of like a worthy opponent, I guess you could say. Maybe it was just a team that picked up at the right time. They've got the playoff mojo. They know how to play in the playoffs. I don't know if there's much else we can say about the Montreal Canadiens. So I don't know if Leaf fans in general are still as upset about the fact that the Leafs lost that series. I know I am. I don't think it changes anything for me that the Habs are in the finals. But yeah, how's it going, man?
It's going good, Philly. It's been a while since we've been back on here, so I'm thrilled to be doing another Leafs Digest pod. Like I said, like you said, we needed to give a little bit of a simmer down time, see what was happening with the media, with the league, and now we're back and talking about the team again. So looking at the Habs in the final is certainly a weird sight. I don't think we'd ever see that, but they deserve a lot of credit. They've been playing super smart defensively. Guys like Deneau get overlooked a lot. Even Sherratt's been a beast on defense. Then Carey Price is just a complete stud. So we've gone over it a bunch of different times. I can't believe it's taken them this far, but it's been an interesting measuring stick for our team because ideally we should have won that series. And I say ideally, I mean realistically. We had them on the 3-1 lead. It should have happened. So it's good. It's good in some sense to know that we are close to that goal. I think they're going to get swept in the finals here because Tampa Bay is just, they're $18 million above the salary cap. They shouldn't even be in this league. But anyhow, the Leafs, we got to be breaking down some stuff about the off season now because we're already looking forward to next season when we get another shot at it.
Yeah, so we've put out two posts, I guess like Leafs postseason videos at this point, or three, I guess, because we broke down if Dubas should be fired, if the management should be fired, kind of talked about the Morgan Riley potential trade to the Kraken, how the Leafs might work around the Seattle expansion draft, another team coming into the league, how that'll all play out, who the Leafs might lose and that kind of thing. But since then, we also broke down Jason Spezza re-signing, and I think that was like just a great signing for the Leafs. It was absolutely a no-brainer, like league minimum. There's really nothing you can go wrong with there. I don't think it's a guy who can be waived if things really, really don't go well, and you can kind of just shoo that contract away and not have to worry about it down the line. But then the biggest one since then, the one that most recently got into the news for the Toronto Maple Leafs, is Wayne Simmonds re-signing, 2-year deal, $1.8 million over the 2 years, so $900,000 per year AAV. What do we think about this Wayne Simmonds re-signing? Because I know the last time we talked as well, we weren't necessarily sure that Wayne Simmonds was a guy that would be coming back.
Yeah, I wasn't certain, but I'm really happy he's staying back and for the next 2 years. I think Simmonds is going to bring us that speed and size that we've oftentimes lacked throughout our lineup, especially if he's playing in the bottom half of the forward lineup. I think he's going to really fit in well for us moving forward. And we talk about toughness being a big thing. He's still low-key a heavyweight in this league. I know he doesn't always seem like he's a bit of a slim build, but he'll go just about anyone, and we need that on the team. So I think that Wayne Simmonds is a guy that I'm really happy we locked up. And also, I think his hands, his ability to score past the puck, it's all pretty underrated for a guy who goes out there and can also bash heads. So I'm really a big fan of Simmonds. Happy to have him here for the next 2 years. But what do you think about it?
I like it. I think that brings like diversity to the team in terms of the skill and the talent that everybody brings. You look at, you've got guys there. They tried to shake up the makeup of this team with bringing in Bogosian and then adding a guy like Jake Muzzin and making Justin Hall more prominent, trying to make the team bigger and more physical. Then you bring in Riley Nash, Nick Foligno, Wayne Simmonds, just to try to spruce up that forward unit and make them less skilled all around, I guess you could say, and make it more physical, more hard hitting, more tough to play against, guys that can go out there and bang some bodies. And I think that you do need a balance of those things to have a good competitive team. I mean, you look over at the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're rocking a fourth line of Patrick Maroon. I'm blanking on who the other guy is, but Tyler Johnson. Yeah, and then I can't right now remember who the third guy is. Maybe Yanni Gourde. I think he might be on the third line though. But like you look over there and you look at a guy like that, like Patrick Maroon, he's not by any means the fastest player in this series. He might honestly be the slowest player in this series, but he's very effective because he gets in guys' grills. He can score goals here and there. He can chip in and provide good quality minutes and just be an agitator, which is kind of like, if nothing else, your team, I think, does need that, especially like where today's game is. We kind of went from a period of you need all physical guys to a period of you need all skill guys, and then now we're like, okay, wait a minute, you do need a mix of both. So having a guy like Wayne Simmonds in there to play like a Patrick Maroon type role, bang bodies, experienced guy, older guy, taking less money. Like Patrick Maroon, I'm pretty sure is on the almost the exact same deal that Wayne Simmonds is on here. I think it's a good signing. It's good depth and it's good diversity in the team, in the skill and talent that gets brought to the team. You also look at how Wayne Simmonds started last year. He was incredible, honestly, at the beginning of last year. He was playing power play minutes. He was scoring goals. He was hitting guys. He was fast. He was a defensive, he was really good on the defensive end for the Leafs, causing problems for the offense. And he wasn't a detriment to the lineup. At no point would you look at him and say that guy's being a liability for us, which I think is something that is really, really important here, because you can't just have guys go out there and smash bodies if they're going to be allowing goals against all the time. So from that perspective, if he can get back to where he was at the beginning of last season, and I think having a full offseason, a proper offseason, whereas last year was a condensed, and then you go into a condensed schedule, give him that time to rest, get back to 100%, $900,000 a year. I think this is perfect for the Leafs. I'm happy that they brought him back. And if nothing else, like you look at, because of what the Leafs have up front with that top four taking up 40% or 50% of the salary cap, you need guys in the bottom who can take $1 million or less to fit in here and have some kind of impact. They can't just be guys on the roster. They have to be guys who can make an impact. And I think if Wayne Simmonds can play like he did in the first half of last year before he got injured, that's exactly what he can do here.
Oh, yeah, I agree. It's a winning contract, and championship teams, Pat Maroon's resume will speak for itself that way. You need guys like that in your bottom six. Mm-hmm. And Wayne Simmonds, like you mentioned too, he is versatile, so he can play up and he can get some power play minutes here and there. And my favorite thing about Wayne is he's just not afraid. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be an assignment like the power play. It can be assignment like going and fighting Milan Lucic. It can be anything like that, and he'll go out there and he'll do it for the team. He's a hometown guy as well. I know he lives locally here in Aurora, so it was nice to see him stick around. I'm sure it was mutually desirable. The Leafs still have a lot to look forward to in terms of contention. Mutually a great deal, and Wayne Simmonds definitely won over a lot of fans this year with his inspired play. And after the dismal previous record of the team in the playoffs, having a guy like that who's going to come in and spark it up on a nightly basis, that is a really great thing. We definitely needed that. And if we can get more players on a contract like that, even though we don't have a ton of room, it'd be great, because we needed more players that were willing to play like Wayne with speed and aggression. And we didn't have that in the playoffs. So I think that going forward, he's a great model for contracts that we can look for, but you don't always get them. That's why you get championships when you have players like that.
I think it is too. It is important too to like bring up the fact that this team needs guys to play on very minimal contracts, because with the top four like that, and then you have Riley, who's I think he's at $6 million, TJ Brody like $5.5 million, Muzzin $5.5 million, Justin Hall a couple mil. Like when you have guys like that in your lineup who are going to eat up a bunch of your contract, like bunch of your cap space, the big four guys are the really, and I don't know if this is the right word for it, but like they're the detriment to the ability to sign guys and bring in depth into the lineup. So the more that you can bring in guys who can make some kind of impact on a minimal salary is ideal. And I think that's exactly what Wayne Simmonds is here, right? Like part of the problem at this point is that and I feel like it's going to be a word that gets reiterated a bunch as things move forward, but it's that you have to hope that these guys can make an impact in this lineup. And that's almost what we're forced to do now as Leafs fans watching this team be constructed into next season, is that we have to hope that guys can get in this lineup and make some kind of impact. And I think that bringing back a guy who has experience in the league and is a veteran is less of a hope than it is knowing what we're going to get to an extent. Because he could be the guy that he was at the beginning of last season, or he could be a bit better than the guy he was in the last half of the season. And if he's a bit better than the guy he was in the last half of last season, it's still better than what he was in the last half of the season at the money he was at for that amount in that last half of the season, which I think is a good thing here, bringing him in at 900K. Like, it just solidifies roster. It solidifies some cap certainty. And it just gives you a guy who, you know, for the most part, what you're going to get out of him, which is nice, because you don't have to rely on, oh my God, I hope this rookie gets into the lineup and can produce, because now you can just go Wayne Simmonds, being in the league, knows what he's doing, 900K, don't worry about it anymore.
Exactly. And the adjustment period, it's not really even existent because he's already been with the team for a year now. And like you said, he's experienced. So to bring him back in, that's what you want. It's an ideal situation. I know that season ended with complete heartbreak, but the way he plays is a great model, especially for the younger players who need to be more willing in certain situations, more willing to adapt and become versatile. Wayne's really good at that. And we saw it all through his time with Philly. He's been a goal scorer. He's been a goon. He's done it all. And he's a good defender too. That comes with the speed and size. So overall, really great contract for the Leafs.
So now kind of looking at what this does for the Leafs cap situation and roster construction, you look at the Leafs now have $10.855 million in cap space remaining. They actually have 1 year left paying Phil Kessel. I don't know if you knew that, but $1.2 million left to pay Phil Kessel this coming season, and then he's done. He's off the books. But like, in terms of certainty of who we know is coming back, let's just take out the expansion because it's unpredictable as to what moves may get made ahead of the expansion here. But just assuming of who we have signed, who's for sure coming back next year. From first line down, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner. Missing left wing, we don't know what's going to happen with Zach Hyman. We'll save that for another video on kind of where we think that'll sit. Then you go Ilya Mikheyev, Tavares, William Nylander, Engvall, Kerfoot. Unknown as to who the third line right winger would be. I know people might say Mikheyev on the third line, but just for the sake of breaking this down, Mikheyev on the second line. And then you look at that fourth line. One of the things that I had uncertainty about was I had 2 open spots the last time I had looked at it. And I had a question mark there of maybe Adam Brooks could hop into the lineup as a full-time guy this coming season, but we knew we had Spezza coming back, and that was the only lock. Now we have Spezza and Wayne Simmonds coming back to slot into at least that fourth line. Maybe Simmonds moves up to the third, depending on where Keefe wants to play them. That's not up for us to decide. But you're looking at really a first-line left winger spot open, a third-line right winger spot, and a fourth-line left winger spot, that or center, wherever you want to move Spezza in that lineup. But there's not too many holes to fill kind of moving forward here. And I know a lot of people have talked about the Leafs are in a cap crunch. The Leafs are in a cap crunch. Well, they have 5 of 6 defensemen for sure coming back next year. Morgan Rielly, TJ Brody, Jake Muzzin, Justin Hall, Rasmus Sandin, and then Travis Sturman is an RFA. So unless some team comes in here and offer sheets him, or the Leafs sign him and the Kraken pick him up, whatever the situation may be, you've got minimum 5 of your 6D, and one of the 6 is an RFA. So he could just be coming back regardless. You're only looking at 3 spots now that have to be filled, and we know we have Adam Brooks here who can hop into a fourth line spot if need be. Maybe he plays that fourth line center. Spezza moves over to the wing, Simmonds on the other wing, and now you're looking at only 2 spots remaining. And I'm less and less worried as this goes on, because I kept thinking about, well, we're going to lose these guys. We're going to lose all these guys, and we have all these holes to fill. Well, we don't really, because one guy that is really expected to be able to jump into this lineup is Nick Robertson. And I think that this could be the year he actually hops in there, whether it be on the fourth line playing one of those roles, or he hops into a third, or even maybe pushes up onto the first line. But he could be a guy who hops in here and fills one of these spots.
Yeah, he should be definitely on the list of people that are next to get a sniff at that level, because he's been a stud, like a really great player. He's got a wicked shot. He would fit in nicely, especially in the bottom half of your lineup where we were complaining about the ability to score earlier. Spezza was kind of had that part of the lineup on his back. So yeah, to bring in a younger guy who can spark the lineup and who's got that wicked shot and he's going to be eager to go out there and make a bang, I think that'd be a great guy to give the call to. I also like the idea of Brooks getting up with the team. That's a big advantage of the Marlies, I find, with the Leafs, because obviously you're hard capped in hockey. It's like that because there's a lot of smaller market teams,
Mhm.
but you can still sort of splurge at the minors level. And obviously, Toronto's got a ton of money when it comes to this organization. So they've always got a bunch of talent down there at the Marlies. And when you think about the big pieces, we're talking about how we're a front loaded team with our contracts. You can find guys who are really willing and motivated out of the minors to come up and play. So some of the guys that actually might end up on the team by the end of the year, we might not even know about them at this moment, or might not be able to predict them in the lineup.
Mhm.
So I think that the Marlies is going to be a great place for the Leafs management to look a bunch at different times. But Brooks, Robertson, either of those guys would be great. But I'm really with you that I want Robertson in the lineup next year.
Yeah, I think Robertson should be able to slot in here and grab a spot. But then I even think about, like, just to piggyback off of your Marlies point, like, think about these guys who you have in here. They're not like the ideal guys to have in your lineup, but Nick Patan, he's played NHL games. Nick Robertson has played NHL games. Adam Brooks has played NHL games. Joey Anderson, he's a guy that we went and got in the Andreas Janssen trade last year. These are all guys who are expected to be able to get into the lineup, whether or not they're full-time guys. But again, it goes to the competition aspect of trying to make an NHL lineup, in that these guys are going to be fighting for position, and they're going to be hungry to be on a cup contending team and a team that is going to be really good. So they're going to want to play their best every single night that they're in the lineup. So it just creates that internal competition of guys trying to play their best to get into the lineup. So I think that that's good from that perspective, because we do have these guys in the Marlies who can make a jump or have been there before and can go back and forth, which is kind of nice. The other thing that I think here, sorry, gonna go ahead.
I was going to say it's going to help to keep people honest. I like that point, because at times it really seems like even a player like Mikheyev, at some point, I seriously thought he had to sit. And if you have a guy who's really ready to come up and play, I know the playoffs is a little bit late to make that integration, but earlier in the season, if he hits a patch like that again, I know there's a lot of speculation that if he were to get scratched multiple times, he might go back to the KHL. That happens a lot with Russian players who get brought over like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for the better of the Leafs, I think that these guys in the Marlies, they are experienced NHL players. I really didn't mind Nick Patan. I know he's a little undersized. I know he fits that old mold of, skill player without a lot of grit, but I like him. He's small, but he's motivated, and he's still got sweet hands. He was supposed to be a stud coming out of junior. That didn't really pan out, but I still think the Leafs could find a great way to use him.
Yeah, and then on top of this, like 10.855 cap remaining is plenty of cap to work with when you're trying to add some depth, guys. I know that there's talks out there of like Nick trying to re-sign Nick Foligno. I don't exactly know what he would demand. It's kind of hard to put a number on it because of his age and his experience, and like I would think that like a city like Columbus might want to just pay him more than he's actually worth, just to have him come back there, because they're losing all these guys, and to be able to like save face in that city and for that team, they might pay him more than he'd actually be really worth at this point in time. But who's to say that the Leafs couldn't grab him at like $4 million or less for a couple years, and Nick Foligno slots in there here because he is a guy from Toronto. His dad played for the Leafs, and he knows this is a cup contending team. Going back to Columbus, I'm sorry, but in the next span of Nick Foligno's like quality years, he's not winning a cup in Columbus. If he's really wants to win a cup, Toronto is probably his best option, other than other teams out there on the market. But I'm just saying, between Columbus or Toronto, I think Toronto gives him a significantly better chance. So maybe he'd be willing to take a little less money to stay here and play. He could fit in there, and then this also gives a little bit of room to go out there and pursue some free agents to fit into your depth here.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's guys in Blue Jackets jerseys right now who are counting down the days until they hit free agency. So to think a guy like Foligno, who went through all that, he put on the sea, he had to bear a lot of the media. I guess there wasn't a lot of media out in Columbus, but anything that went wrong with the team, right? He's your captain. He's been through it with the Blue Jackets. I don't think he would end up going back there. I mean, maybe they would wheel out the Brinks truck to him, but at the same time, I think he is interested in staying in his hometown, suiting back up with the Leafs. He knows that we're close. Whole roster knows we're close. I think, especially considering his age, he'd be way more likely to take a pay cut to remain in Toronto.
Yeah, agreed. And then I think too, like, let's say you could sign Nick Foligno, you still probably have room. Like, he's not gonna go, and I would not imagine a guy like Nick Foligno is getting any more than $5 million on your AAV. So like, that's half of the cap space remaining. Now you have another five. Let's assume he hits the very top and he grabs $5 million, and the Leafs sign up for $5 million. you still have $5 million to play with to go into the other spots. You could get a $2 million guy. You could get a couple $2 million guys. You could grab $1 million guys. Like, there are options out there to go and pursue other free agents at that point. And then if Nick Foligno isn't the guy, or whatever the case may be, you have the options now and the money to go out there and buy a couple of $2 million, $3 million players to fit into this lineup, which is something that I think people have overlooked and thought the Leafs wouldn't actually have that possibility of doing. So ultimately, like, after the Simmonds re-signing, the roster keeps bolstering and coming back with strong signings that I think fans are very appreciative of and very excited for. And it's also not killing our cap. So I think this is like a very exciting signing, bringing back Wayne Simmonds.
Yeah, it is. And you look at the Detroit teams that have won for so many years, they always preached how important it was for guys to be selfless and take pay cuts. You hear a lot of people in hockey talk about it. I know in pro sports today, people are really encouraged to go out there and get their money. And that's completely fair, right? You guys work all year round, really tough on your body, criticized by nearly everyone. I totally understand why guys need to get paid and they shouldn't take any less than their value. But at your point in your career, when you're Nick Foligno and you've been a captain of a team, you've obviously been an important person in this league, you want the Stanley Cup to show for it. You know how close the Leafs are. They're your hometown. I'd almost guarantee he ends up back with the Leafs. And I do think it'll be at a bargain rate. And out of curiosity, Philly, do you think you could run it back with this exact same roster right now? I know we have money to spend, so there will be guys added back in. But let's say we pull up Robertson into the bottom half of the lineup with the team we had last year. Are you cool with that moving forward? Like, would you go right back into next season and say, okay, we're more experienced, we've been through it now, we can go back at it with the same group? Do you think you could do that? Because I personally feel like we could.
I think that moving, and it's hard to say because of the legacy that this guy has, and we love him as a person and as a player for what he did in his career, but moving a guy like Thornton out of the lineup, I do think will help, because he wasn't contributing too much offensively, and it's not like he's like a defensive prowess out there. So putting in a guy like Nick Robertson, who doesn't have the experience but has the speed, the skill, the goal scoring ability, I think is an improvement on that position, which I think is nice. I would be hesitant to completely run it back, though, just from the perspective of year after year, we've brought very similar teams back. We've made improvements, I think, but we still haven't been able to get it done. And part of the problem, in my opinion, still is that it hasn't been the depth guys who haven't performed. It's been the top end guys who have let us down. And I don't know that that means a big top four change should come, but maybe there needs to be another top guy, which is very hard to do considering the cap that the top four take up. But I don't know if it's like another big defenseman or another really, really good depth guy who's not just like a Nick Foligno for an entire season, right? Like, that's the kind of thing I'm more looking at, is like you throw in a guy like that who can make a big impact and is a big guy who's not taking up the very top of the roster, because this management has made it clear that they don't want to move on from these guys. So you need like a big piece that may not necessarily be like a huge name guy. I don't know how to kind of really describe that, but like, I even look at Tampa. They went out and got Ryan McDonough on defense. Like, McDonough is a stud, but he's not their number one guy. He's playing on the second pairing as the third defenseman, right? Like, and it's just like a guy like that.
I mean, I know this guy's completely exceeded it, but someone in the same nature as like a Tyler Toffoli, grabbing someone who's just a reliable second, third line player. I know that Montreal's put him in a role that he's just excelled at a ton. And to be honest, he's been a great player through his career, but maybe not the best comparison for what you're talking about. But we do need a guy who's going to be a subtle game changer for us.
Blake Coleman.
Yeah, a player like that. So that is going to bring us a lot closer to getting to that Stanley Cup final. Mm-hmm. And I know what you mean. Like, we got to shake it up a little bit. In hindsight, we really were close. Like, I can't believe that Montreal got through Vegas. Like, that to me right there said that we are right there. Yeah, we are fully right there. And I wouldn't be too worried about shaking it up a ton. I agree with you. We got to get a little bit more into the bottom half of the lineup. That could be coming in the form of Robertson coming up and then Thornton going down. Maybe a little bit of a shot at the morale for the first little bit, but who cares? Like, it's about winning right now. And you're right. Top guns have let us down. Has nothing to do with what's been going on in the bottom half of our lineup. But I think we do need to wait one more year of giving these guys the reins before we make a big trade like that.
Well, I'm pretty excited about the Simmonds re-signing. I know that free agency, expansion draft, the entry draft is all coming up here, so we're going to have a whole bunch more videos coming up. We're going to have speculation on whether or not Zack comes back, different free agents that we could see coming to the Leafs, what that might do to our cap situation, different trades that might be coming about. If the Leafs can go out there and grab some more draft picks, we'll see how that kind of works out. But as far as the Wayne Simmonds signing goes, I know Josh and I are both really excited about this one. I think it's a good fit for the team. It's good for the financial situation. And yeah, I'm excited about the signings this team's making. I do kind of like how the roster is shaping up, given that everyone was all concerned about cap crunch and we don't have the space to do this, we don't have the space to do that. Kyle Dubas and this management group is continuing to show that we can fit guys into this cap. Guys are clearly willing to take less money to come here and play in Toronto, which means that players in the league are identifying Toronto as a team that is still a cup contender and is still a team that can go out there and win. They're not just hopping on for the sake of coming and playing in Toronto and making some money. These guys are taking less money to come here and play, which is very exciting and good to hear as fans of the team. And I can't wait to see what Kyle Dubas has up his sleeve moving forward here, because I know the Leafs lurk in the shadows, and then next thing you know, deals are done without anybody hearing about it. The Simmonds signing being a key one. Nobody really heard any talks of Simmonds coming back. Next thing you know, you're getting a notification that he's coming back 2 more years, so that's all exciting. But more videos coming up. Make sure you subscribe to Leafs Digest channel. Like, comment, share, whatever you got to do. If you disagree with our takes, let us know in the comments. We're happy to hear. We're happy to bring them up on the pod. But until next time, can't wait to talk more Leafs with you guys. Goodie, see you soon.
Signing off.